speaking, for beginners, there is just compressed air. So air contains 21% oxygen and 78% nitrogen, which is the same air as we breathe in here. So what's the difference with the gas, the air that is in a tank? Well, it is compressed. So when you go deeper, you still have air available. This is a big difference with freediving. First thing to pay attention to. Second, what do we see? The position of this scuba diver is more or less horizontally. Now, this is another thing we have to pay attention to, because this stream is about equalization, right? And when you're horizontal, things are a little bit different than when you are vertical. Now, let's take a look at a freediver. Well, we are vertical, right? And not only vertical, but also head down. So when we equalize, we need air, and we need to bring that air from the lungs towards the eustachian tube so we can equalize the ears. More about that later in this stream. So we have to bring air from the lungs towards, let's say, the throat, the nasal cavity. But when you're upside down, you basically have to bring air from here to there, which is different than when you are in a horizontal position. So position of the freediver is different. And of course, we don't have tanks in here. So that means that the air we use during the whole descent and ascent is the same air. So at the surface, when we take a last breath of air, a final big breath, that volume of air, that's the air that we have during the whole dive. This is a big, big difference with scuba diving. In scuba diving, you can breathe. If we go back to the picture of the scuba diver, you see bubbles coming out. It's because, well, scuba divers are breathing, and when you breathe, you inhale and then you exhale. So every time a scuba diver exhales, bubbles are coming out. You've probably seen this already when you're freediving or snorkeling above a shipwreck and there is scuba divers around. There's a lot of bubbles coming up. It's actually a way to find a wreck. You just go look for the bubbles because you know there will always be some kind of tourist tour going on, and scuba divers will be there. So when you find bubbles somewhere, you know down there are scuba divers. The bubbles are just air from the exhalation. We freedivers, we don't have bubbles. In freediving, we say bubbles are troubles. When we exhale underwater, it's because something is going wrong. We do not want to exhale underwater. So we keep the air in. So those are two main differences: position of the diver and the air. Let's talk about that more. But first of all, if you're not a member of this channel yet, please hit the join button so you can receive special perks like priority replies to your comments, and you can even get invited into the live stream with the camera if you are an advanced member. You can also support this channel by pressing the dollar sign, and then you can activate a super chat or a super sticker. Let's get moving on. First of all, you need to know that as you dive deeper, there is more pressure from the water. And that's exactly the reason why we have to equalize our ears. Because what does it mean, equalization? Equalization of the ears means that we balance the pressure from outside, which is the pressure of the water, with the pressure that is inside of your ear. If you do not balance that pressure, then there will be more pressure here, and your eardrum will bend inwards to a point that it will eventually rupture if you don't equalize your ears. And of course, that's a situation you want to avoid at all times. You will be out of the water for a long time. So that's why you have to equalize your eardrum. When the pressure of the water makes your eardrum bend inwards, you have to equalize the pressure here, which means getting in more air, so that eardrum will get into a neutral position anymore. So instead of this, which is a almost painful situation, so the more the eardrum bends inwards, the more painful it will become, and eventually it will rupture. You put more pressure here, put the eardrum in a neutral position. That's what we call equalization, because there is more pressure from the water as you dive deeper. So at the surface, we have 1 bar. 1 bar is just a measurement for pressure. It's the pressure that we have here, the pressure that you have when you're watching this stream, the pressure that I have, 1 bar. As you go deeper, let's say 10 meters, you have 2 bars. So at 10 meters, you have double of the pressure that there is at the surface. That means that your lungs, which are compressible, will be subjected to double the pressure. So the volume of your lungs and the volume of the air inside of your lungs will shrink with 50%. So at 10 meters, your lungs are only 50% of what they are at the surface, which also means that you only have 50% of volume of air available at 10 meters. And as you keep on diving deeper, there will be more and more pressure. So at 20 meters, you have 3 bar. and at 30 meters, you have 4 bars. So at 30 meters, your lungs are 25% of the original volume. And that's why equalization becomes more difficult as you dive deeper, because you have less air available. Very important to know, because this will make the difference between equalization for scuba diving and for free diving. Because in scuba diving, you always have the same amount of air, because you have air in your tanks, which is compressed, and it doesn't matter whether you're at 5 or 10 or 15 meters, you have always that air available. In freediving, the volume of your lungs will be shrinking. That's why equalization for freediving is a little bit different than for scuba diving, and we will talk about this a bit more in depth right now. So, what are we talking about? You might have guessed it already or not. The Val Salva method versus the Frenzel method. Val Salva is usually what scuba divers use. The Val Salva method means that you are blowing air from your abdominal region into your nose. Now, when you pinch your nose, the air cannot escape, so the air will eventually go through the eustachian tubes and equalize your ears. This is perfectly okay, nothing wrong with it. And in freediving, beginners, they can also use Val Salva. The problem with Val Salva is that as you dive deeper, it will be more and more difficult to bring air from here, from the abdominal region, towards your nasal cavity to equalize your ears. Why is that? Well, because you're diving deeper and there is more pressure, so there is less air available. So this is the big difference between scuba diving and free diving. In scuba diving, you always have air available, so Val Salva is not a problem at depths because you always have that air. In free diving, the deeper you go, the more difficult Val Salva becomes. And well, this is very personal, of course, but for me, I don't think I've ever used Val Salva any deeper than 10 or 15 meters. It becomes really difficult. Also, Val Salva is a method that uses quite some energy. You have to really squeeze your abdominal wall to get air up here, and it's just not relaxing. Another thing that happens with a Val Salva is when you can't equalize, you're going to try to blow even harder. And when you blow too hard, it becomes difficult. Well, not only difficult, it becomes dangerous to your structures in your ears. So if you blow too hard, it's easy to rupture some structures. That's why in Val Salva sometimes you have some little blood coming out of your nose, because simply you have been blowing too hard. So that is definitely the point at which you have to realize, okay, Val Salva doesn't really work here anymore. I have to switch to Frenzel. And actually, better as a freediver is to learn Frenzel from the very start. I mean, if Val Salva works, you can perfectly use it. But if Val Salva doesn't work, then don't spend any time on it. Go directly to Frenzel. Learn the Frenzel from the beginning, because Frenzel for freediving is the way to go. You have to learn Frenzel anyway if you want to dive deeper, because Val Salva is limited in depth. 10, 15 meters. Some people say, oh, I've done 20, 25 with a Val Salva, but I think those are exceptions. Val Salva is very much limited, and it's not a relaxing way of equalizing. So, Frenzel, that's what we're gonna use in freediving. What is the main difference? Well, you're not gonna use your abdominal wall anymore to blow air into your nose. You are gonna use air that is here available and use your tongue as a piston to bring air in those eustachian tubes and to equalize your ear. So the eustachian tubes are tubes that connect the nasal cavity with the inner ear, so that when you blow air into it, you can get more pressure from inside and put this eardrum in a neutral position. Frenzel. There are many ways to do this. It might take some time to learn it, but once you figure out how to do it, that's your hallelujah moment, because from then on, you are a true freediver. If you don't know how to Frenzel, you can't call yourself a freediver yet, because Frenzel is the way to go. Frenzel is the way to gently equalize in a relaxed way and enjoy freediving with equalization without having to stress out about equalization. Frenzel is just a nice and gentle way. So, a couple of methods. I'm going to talk about the first one. When you Frenzel, I will demonstrate first. And I'm doing this with my mouth open just to demonstrate you that the air is actually staying in the back of my throat, behind the tongue. Val Salva, you cannot do with mouth open, because then the air would just escape through your mouth. But if you want to know if you're doing Frenzel right, you can try dry with your mouth open. you're using the back of your tongue to push air up, and that air stays there. You see that my Adam's apple, the larynx goes up. So this is another way to check in the mirror if you're doing Frenzel. So every time I Frenzel, this goes up. So you might want to concentrate on that. That's the first method to learn it, to just bring up your larynx and see if that works. So concentrate on bringing up the larynx. Let's do that without actually pinching the nose. So that's an exercise you can do. Trying to bring up the larynx. Another way is using positions of your tongue. So I said in the definition of Frenzel, you're using the back of your tongue to bring air up. That is true. But this time, in this other method, we're going to focus on the tip of the tongue, and you're going to place it on the back of your upper teeth, like if you're pronouncing the letter T. If you're pronouncing the letter T, the tip of your tongue will automatically be positioned behind your upper teeth. So now we're going to pinch your nose, and we're going to imaginary pronounce the letter T, because I don't think there's going to go sound, you're going to hear any sound. So you're about to pronounce the letter T. The tip of the tongue will be positioned on the back of your upper teeth, and then it's like your tongue will curl up and the back of your tongue will equalize. So I'm going to do this now without pinching the nose, pronouncing the letter T. And you can see my larynx is also going up. Now, as you dive deeper, and for more advanced freedivers, there are other letters of the alphabet that you can pronounce. Like, for instance, the K. Instead of T, you're going to pronounce K now. You're also seeing the larynx is going up. And instead of the tip of the tongue, you're now using like the middle of your tongue. It's more like in the middle of your mouth, on the hard palate, where the hard palate and soft palate are like transitioning. That's another way to Frenzel. Or you can even use the H sound. You're trying to pronounce an H, the letter H, and then the back of your tongue will be activated. For beginners, for you guys, for just recreational freediving, I'm going to advise you to pronounce the letter T. Or if you want to do it without the alphabet, which is perfectly fine, you can just focus on your larynx bringing up. That is the difference between Valsalva and Frenzel. I'm going to give you a couple of general recommendations now on freediving before we jump to the questions and answers. So, when do you need to equalize? You need to equalize on the way down, not on the way up. Only on the way down. So the moment you turn, you're going to stop equalizing. Only on the way down. How many times do you need to equalize? How frequently? Every meter. Every meter you need to equalize. So that will be something like that will be the frequency or the speed, if you want, of equalization on a normal descent. The problem with equalization is with beginners that they don't equalize frequently enough. So they do one equalization and then they keep on going down, 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 down. And only like 3-4 meters further, they try another equalization. But then the pressure has built up too much. You're already feeling pain in your ears, little pain, and it's too late. The more pressure builds up, the longer you wait, the more difficult it becomes. That's why you have to equalize before you feel pain in your ears, before the pressure builds up. So never wait until you feel a certain pressure in your ears. That's already way too late. You're going tss, 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 tss. All right? Always equalize gently. You do not want to blow too hard into your nose, like in the Val Salva method. When you're doing Frenzel, you want to do it gently. If it doesn't work, then you stop, you turn around, and you try again. or you slow down the descent. So if you're doing a freediving session on a line, which you should, because on a line is easier, then you're going to hold yourself on the line and just regulate the speed you're going down. If you're going down too fast, it will become more difficult. So slow down your descent, and then equalization might become more easy. You might want to practice dry with the different letters of the alphabet I told you, the and the H sound, if that sounds like an H anyway, or practice in front of the mirror to lift your larynx. That's it, guys. Let's switch to the questions and answers. I see Keanu Kodabang is here. Thank you for joining. Whoa, feeling something there. I assume you're referring to the larynx going up and down. So yes, that is basically a visual metric, something you can pay attention to. Another way, like if you are equalizing dry, only do this a couple of times, because if you're underwater, it's more easy to feel that you're equalizing. You're like really feeling that the air is coming through the eustachian tubes and that your eardrum is set in a neutral position again. But when you do that on dry, then it's not so easy to feel whether you're equalizing or not. Also, you have nothing to equalize against because there is no pressure of the water. You're just here in the air. So if you practice dry, only do this a couple of times and then let go of your nose, take a couple of breaths, rest a bit, and then you can do that again. Keanu is saying the letter T, so he's trying the letter T now. So when you pronounce that, you do feel that the back of your tongue is going up. And you should feel pressure coming into your ears from inside to equalize the ears. What you can also do, if you want to keep on equalizing dry, is instead of pinching your nose fully, you're only pinching it a little bit. And every time you pronounce T, you're going to feel some air escaping through the nose. Obviously, we're not going to do that when we are in the water. But for dry equalization, because you have no pressure differential here, so you cannot keep on getting air into your inner ear. You're just pinching half, and then you will feel that the air is escaping through the nose. It even makes a sound. All right, guys, that is it. Thanks you for joining. Next time I will be doing a live, hopefully every week. Next time, hope to have more people on the chat with more questions. See you. Peace in every breath.